rhyming words with the title. When you arrange these couplets on a page, a story develops. You never start at the top and go, hey, let's tell a story. Because what will happen, you get to the second verse and go, I don't know, what do we do now? How do you? And so, not all the time, but what I love to do, and what is kind of a trademark in this town when you're doing writing like this, and this is a specific kind of writing. It's narrative writing, right? You're paying off the title. You want the listener involved. It's a story. It's this big on the page, which is always a good sign. If it's this big on the page, you're like, oh, if it's this big on the page, you probably got a great song. Why? And I'm going off a little bit. Why? Because the chorus is doing double duty most of the time. You're not having a different chorus every time. The chorus is meaning something different the second time you hear it, because based on the new information in the verse. Okay, enough of that. Well, what you do is you get a title, Lonely Stuff. First thing we're thinking is not what is this about, it's what rhymes with stuff. It's the biggest lesson I ever learned. Sitting in rooms across from best songwriters in the world for 30 years. It's like, hey, I got this idea called Lonely Stuff. I like it. They're not going, well, what's it about? Maybe a guy on a space shuttle, man, he misses his wife, because he's all way out there. Or maybe it's somebody trapped on a desert island. No. Or maybe it's somebody who's trapped in his own mind. Yeah, that's it. And then we can write. It's like, well, that's one way to do it. Okay. The best way to do it is like Lonely Stuff. Rough. The rhyme will give you the line. Rough. Within the context of that song, Lonely Stuff. It's not about parties and what's lonely stuff? You think of that, you hold that title in your head and you rhyme words with stuff. Guess you had. And the first one we came up with, enough. Guess you had enough of that lonely stuff. And you got to get it out in the room. You got to say it in the room, man. There's nothing worse than your co-writer going, I'm going, what are you thinking? Well, hold on. No, man. You gotta feel like you can make a complete fool of yourself in front of your co-writer. And if you don't, you probably don't need to be co-writing with that person. So you write with, or you date 30 different, 50, 150, 200 different co-writers, and you end up with 4 that you can't wait to see because they let you be an idiot. Because you're going to be an idiot if you're saying crazy shit in the room. And you got to get it out in the room. You got to be willing to be embarrassed. Because you'll say, I've done it all the time. I'll say, oh, I got it. Because she'd had enough of that lonely stuff. And then my co-writer go, well, that's the end of the song. Remember, we wrote that already. Oh, hell, that's right. No wonder I loved it. Wonderful poet said, how do I know what I think until I've heard what I've thought?